Hello, ladies. Hi, Karen. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Megan. Hi, Christine. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. We'll just give it another minute to see if anyone else wants to come along. This is exciting. Okay, right, let's get started because I've got a lot to talk about. Hello, Karen. It's so nice to see your lovely face. Right, I am recording this, by the way, so feel free to have your camera on or off, but just so you know, this will be recorded because I'll be sending it out to everybody who can't make it. And feel free to use the chat box. In fact, please do. I'd love it if you could share some comments, ask questions, all a bit of chat would be nice. So yeah, feel free to do that. And thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you all this evening or this afternoon or this morning, wherever you are in the world. Okay, so this is going to be a masterclass all about the 3 natural stages of transformation. I'm going to close that so I can. Okay, so thanks, Karen. Great to have you here. Okay, let's get going. So in this masterclass, I'm going to try and keep it to an hour, but I really want to show you how to embody a new way of being, to grow your business in a way that feels really good. No pushing water up a hill. My coach said that recently, and I was like, that is such a great way of saying it. You know, that sort of like you feel like you're doing all the heavy lifting and you're pushing water up a hill, and it's clearly not going to work. So by the end of our time together tonight, hopefully you'll understand the 3 natural stages of transformation. And I am going to be sharing a little bit at the end on how you can work with me. Okay, so yes, I am here to show you what it takes to meet your best self. So a lot of my clients, they really want to figure out what they are capable of, what is their capacity, what is their potential. And I know it's cheesy, that phrase of unlocking your potential, but it's kind of true, right? We're here for like one little life. And I think a lot of us really feel like we have a little secret sauce that we want to share with the world. And how can we do that? How can we do it in a way that's fun and not pushing water up a hill? So here is me and Denise Duffield Thomas, who I have to admit is one of my absolute idols. If you don't know Denise, she is an Australian money mindset coach. She has ADHD, 3 children, and she's a multi-millionaire. She's absolutely fantastic. And this is me in London. Last year, I met Denise, and she was a keynote speaker at a conference I was at. She was hilarious. She is so funny. And if you don't have her books, you have to buy her books. They're just so funny, but also packed full of valuable tips and not even just life hacks or not business hacks, but life hacks too. And I just wanted to share this quote because I love it. So you have to decide now that you are enough, you are smart enough, and you're pretty enough, and clever enough, and ready enough. And you can be richer starting today if you're brave enough to define exactly what you want. The reason I love this so much is because one of the biggest problems that I see with the ladies I work with is that they are not clear on exactly what it is that they want. And part of the issue with that is they haven't fully given themselves permission to dream big. Like we do it as kids, right? Like, what do you want to be when you're older? And you're like an astronaut. And then something happens over time and we stop giving ourselves permission to dream big. And so we play it small, play it safe, and our dreams just sort of shrink in size. So I love what Denise is saying here about if you're brave enough, because that's what it takes. Also, a lot of the ladies I work with come to me asking to feel more confident. If I got paid £1 for every time somebody asks me, can you help me feel more confident? I'd be a very, very rich woman right now. But actually, what I think people are confusing confidence is with courage. Okay, so I'm a firm believer that it's courage first, then competence, then confidence. And I just love how Denise puts this together with, if you're brave enough, if you have the courage to define exactly what you want, you can do it. And it comes back to this like decisive kind of certainty, this energy of certainty and decisiveness, that I am going to show up and create exactly what it is that I want to create. So we need to know what that is. We need to know what we want, and we need to have the courage to actually start doing that. This is so funny, by the way, I have to share this story. She came round to get a selfie with everybody. Bless her, she was so lovely. And there was a lot of people in the room all trying to get selfies with her. And when she came to me, I sort of tried to stand up off my chair to like get my selfie. And as I did that, I tripped over the leg of my chair and literally stood on her foot. Absolutely mortified. The poor woman totally stood on her toe. So poor Denise. Okay, so give me a little thumbs up or yes in the comments if you feel at the moment that you're kind of scared at the thought of really claiming your expertise and being more authoritative about that, like really shining your light and standing in your full power and authority in putting yourself out there. And sort of, whatever that means, whether that's speaking in, networking events or social media posts. How do you feel about claiming your expertise? Because a lot of my ladies, they have all the qualifications. They have more than enough qualifications, and they've got the positive testimonials, and they've got their, like, all the things, all the awards, all the things, but they still aren't fully claiming that they are an expert at what they do. And especially when it comes to visibility. And that's a big issue when you're trying to scale an online business, because there's a lot of noise out there. Karen says, yes, feeling it as I stretch myself to show up in more ways consistently. Yeah. Megan, some days are good and I feel great, then the imposter syndrome comes in and that's tough. Yeah, I totally resonate with that, Megan. It's like 1 minute you feel at the top of the world and you're able to sort of claim your expertise and say what you really want to say. And then you might read somebody else's post on social media and you're like, oh, well, maybe she's right and I'm wrong. Or like, look how, confident she is in the way that she's showing up on that reel, or look at her photos. It's so easy to get caught up in that sort of comparisonitis, isn't it, in the online world? What about this one? You have difficulty relaxing or taking breaks, struggling to take time off, constantly feeling like you need to hustle, or experiencing guilt when you're not working. Let me know if this one resonates with you. This was a huge problem for me, especially when I became a mum, because I felt guilty if I wasn't spending enough time with my children, and I felt guilty if I wasn't working enough on my business, serving my clients. And so that kept me in a perpetual state of working really, really hard. And I work with a lot of practitioners, clinicians, people who have in-person businesses and are trying to move online to buy back more time and to scale their business so they can get more time for themselves. And it's that sort of like constantly trying to serve clients, or trying to, think of the next idea in terms of find online clients or grow their course. And it just makes you exhausted when you keep kind of behaving like that, and you cannot actually ever fully switch off and relax because you're like busy writing social media posts in your head or like creating courses. Yes, you can relate. Yes, Stephanie. Yeah, I'm working on not being guilty, says Megan. Yeah, it's tough when we are in a very kind of masculine society, in terms of the conditioning that we've been brought up with, in terms of, if you want to be successful, you need to work really, 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 really hard, and you need to get straight A's and 100%. We've all been brought up with that, right? And it's really difficult, I think, to sort of give ourselves permission to really kind of tap into that feminine energy and to just receive and to stop. Karen says, just noticed today that I started thinking about having unlimited data on my phone so I can work when I'm away in my camper van. Realised that it might not be the best idea for actually enjoying being away on the adventures. Yes, this is the thing, isn't it, Karen? Like, I know that's been a dream of yours for a long time, is to have this camper van and to be able to have the freedom to explore and go on adventures. And yet so many of us want to sort of like, or feel the urge, it's like this pull, isn't it, into like being in our businesses all the time, that we might as well just be an employee again, because we're kind of getting caught up in the rat race, so to speak. What about this one? So you feel like you've hit a glass ceiling in your business. You know, you might be making consistent 2, 5, 10, even 15K months, but you aren't sure how to break through to the next level. And despite this sort of consistent revenue, you're unsure how to scale or grow further without risking burnout or losing what you've already built. This is a serious issue for my clients because, like I said, a lot of them have very successful, established face-to-face, in-person businesses. And there's that fear of, if I give up that, that's my bread and butter, to focus on scaling my online course or my online business, then I won't have enough money, the money that I'm used to having with giving up my in-person business or some of it. So there's that tipping point, isn't there? And also, like when you normalize a certain income, which is exactly what I did. So when I had children, my husband was like, you just contribute, I think it was like £2,000 a month into the joint account. I was like, okay. I know I was working part-time, I had the babies, and I was like, okay, that's all I need to make. And I just fully embodied and normalized that amount of income. And then there's no wonder, right, that was the income I was making for years and years and years. Even when some months I might make like, 5K months or something like that. But because it wasn't normal for me, I would just spend it. And I justified it on the fact that I was investing it in my business and I needed this course and I need to buy this business coach. And oh, I just could not hold on to money. It just felt unsafe to me because it wasn't my normal. Megan, that resonates. Yeah. So it's like, and so because of that, you keep hitting this glass ceiling of like the same income levels over and over. Okay, so who is this for? Like, who do I work with? What is this work for? Well, for me, I am passionate about working with really purpose-driven, visionary female entrepreneurs. And they are here to create a beautiful life for themselves, giving themselves full permission to dream big whilst changing the world. And it's so interesting that I actually asked a few of my clients recently, like, what's your big why? Like, why are you doing what you do? And so many of them were like, I'm here to change the world. And I work with a lot of different types of coaches and practitioners, but everybody has a burning desire to really change lives. And when you have that desire, the money is just a secondary thing. It just comes, right? Okay, so who here is totally done with holding yourself back? You just know that's you, right? You're in your own way and you're ready to step into your higher self. You just know your muddle mindset is costing you big time. I just had this sort of like light bulb moment a few years ago when I was like, oh, it's me that's the problem here, because I was constantly looking outside of myself for the answers to my problems, constantly looking for the next strategy or sales system or whatever it was. And it was like a proper light bulb moment of, hang on a second, it could be me. And I was like, I am done with this. I am ready to really like step into the highest version of myself because I am ready to have it all. I want to be with my kids. I want to have an incredible business. I want to make a massive impact. Bring it on. Okay, so here is the one thing I really want you to all understand. You need to transcend your idea of who you are and what you assumed is possible for you based on your history and what society has taught you. That's kind of it. When you peel back all the layers of, other people's expectations of you, your past, the way that you're habitually thinking, feeling, and responding, when you peel back all of that, it's like you don't need to live your future based on what you've been conditioned to, right? Because it wasn't that long ago that females were meant to stay at home and cook the dinners and just look after the babies. Like it really wasn't that long ago. So of course we're in this sort of era now of like figuring out that, hang on a second, we are obviously way more capable than that. And it's actually okay and it's safe, right? It's safe to make more money than we need. It's safe to be in abundance and excess and overflow. It's safe to be successful. That's the new thing, right? That's what we've got to lean into. Yeah, good. I'm glad it resonates. Yes, yes. We need to be aware of the fact somebody actually told me not long ago, Karen, maybe it was even you, that like that women were only allowed to have a bank account in like the early 1970s. Like, what? How can that? Yeah. I mean, that's not that long ago, right? Was that you, Karen? That just blew my mind. So, of course, like it makes sense that we've not had generational practice at managing money. That's why I work a lot on money mindset with my clients as well. So, yeah, it makes sense, right? Okay, so it takes transcending, so going above and beyond, transcending your old paradigms and then awakening to. It's like a flower blossoming, right? Awakening to and deeply aligning with a whole new way of being. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about what that actually means. Karen says, and we weren't allowed to buy a drink for ourselves in the pub till 1982. I mean, that just blows my mind. Like how did, it's just like crazy, isn't it? But it makes sense then, right? How we are conditioned to, undercharge, underprice ourselves, devalue ourselves, because we just didn't have the freedom that men had. Okay, so it takes transcending your old paradigms and then awakening to and deeply aligning with a whole new way of being, okay? You basically need a transformation, okay? So transformational coaching, I actually just Googled this. It takes you to the level of identity, sense of purpose, and way of being in the world. And I was like, I looked that up and I was like, oh yeah, tick, tick, tick. That's exactly what I do. Yeah, yeah. You need to see yourself in a new light. You need to create a new identity for yourself. And you need that sense of purpose. You need to like that soul aligned purpose, right? And that way of being in the world, like showing up in that energy, claiming your expertise, claiming your authority, because everything is energy, right? And I talked a little bit about this in the event last week. But you know yourself, like if you walk into a room and there's been two people arguing and you're like, you could cut the tension with a knife. You can feel that like awkward, tense energy versus if you've been to a wedding or you've been to like a live music concert, a gig, and you're like buzzing for days afterwards. You're like, oh my God, that was the best day ever. Like that's all energy and it can be felt. And if you can show up in that energy and that way of being, the quantum physics behind this, basically you are like a magnet. You are a magnet for what you want. But then we need to know what we want, right? So it's like that clear intention. We need to know what we want from that elevated emotion. And then you become a magnet. Okay. So I did share a little bit about my story last week in the first, in the sort of like pre-party live that I did in the pop-up Facebook group. But here's me in my little therapy room quite a few years ago now, working with a little boy and his mum. So I was a behavior analyst for 15 years, completely steeped in the science of applied behavior analysis, which if you haven't heard of that, it's basically the study of human behavior. And I specialized in working with autistic children. And I built, a really successful business doing that with a team of other practitioners. And we had a little therapy room and it was all going great. But I was absolutely exhausted, especially when I was a young mum, when I had my own kids. And so I saw a lady in the States who I had looked up to for quite a while. She was actually a parent, but also a behavior analyst. And she started an online course. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, if she can do it, I can do it. So this is a very old photo, but these are my three little kiddos. But I thought to buy back time, what I would do I would reduce my time spent working one-to-one with the kiddies in person or coaching parents, and I would develop and scale an online course so that I could be at home more with my kids. It was pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie. It was really tough. And I did develop an online course and I just couldn't get it to scale to where I wanted it to scale to. And my pattern at the time was just throw money at marketing, business coaches, courses, you name it, I've done it. And you know that statistic, like only 10% of people actually complete an online course. I did the whole lot. Like I was the girl showing up, like putting the baby to bed and then showing up and doing the work and doing the self-study. But it wasn't until COVID came and lockdown and the world stopped that I realized just how exhausted and frustrated, the frustration was like bubbling out of me and just dejected. You know, there was all these, you know, coaches selling like, oh, make your millions this way, make your millions that way, my blueprint's the way. And I was just like, it's not, because I've tried it again and again. And I was very much in my head, you know, I was like a behavior analyst, you know, I was trained to problem solve, I was paid to problem solve. But I was very aware that I was constantly trying to figure out the how. Like, oh my goodness, I just constantly, I couldn't, that's all I thought about. How can I make this work? How can I scale? How? Just somebody tell me how to do this. My in-person business was very busy, so I could have easily get sucked right back up into that. But I was determined to sort of maintain my boundaries with the hours I set myself for the bread and butter, for the income to come in, and to really try and scale this online business because I had the social proof. The course was very good. But my sort of conclusion, or like, yeah, the conclusion I drew from that was, this is so hard. It's clearly meant for other people, not for me. And I honestly lived in that belief for years. Just I kept trying, and I kept on. This was completely unconscious. Like I wasn't aware of that belief until I embarked on my own mindset journey. But I had this belief that, you know, the world is categorized into two halves, the haves and have-nots. And I was clearly a have-not. It's just crazy when you talk about it out loud, all this stuff. So yeah, I found it very difficult. So somebody said, you should invest in a mindset coach. And I literally rolled my eyes. I was like, that is not for me. Like I'm a scientist through and through. No thanks. I just need another business coach, right? Anyway, this girl, she was like, no, you need to, she referred me onto this mindset coach. And it was so much money. It was $5,000 for 12 weeks of one-to-one coaching. And I just remember my palms sweating as I went to hit the pay button. But it was really a remarkable experience for me. Like I uncovered a lot of limiting beliefs. She taught me how to manage my mindset, how to embody a new identity. And I made some really big and hard decisions, like giving up my autism business of 15 years, which was my baby. I poured everything into that. But I loved the work she was doing with me. There was a lot of crossover with my training as a behavior analyst, but she went so much deeper into the thoughts and feelings and belief systems. And so I decided to become a coach myself. I was very thorough in a course that I wanted to do because I wanted to be steeped in science, right? Like I wanted to understand exactly how all of this stuff worked with the neuroscience. And I started a new business. So, and I just love Wonder Woman. If you're wondering why there's an image of Wonder Woman, that is my that's the visual that I use to really feel brave and empowered. And I just think that's an awesome photo of her. So it wasn't an easy ride. There was a bit of conflict, I'm not gonna lie. There was massive resistance to this whole like, just drop into your body, just feel your feelings. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? I found that really tough to connect. I wasn't like emotionless, but I found it really tough to sort of identify, what does frustration feel like in my body? What does panic or powerlessness feel like in my body? What does fear feel like in my body? Because, like many of us, I was an expert at suppressing those emotions, because anytime I felt those emotions come up in the past, I'd be like, no, we're not feeling like that. We're going to do some more doing. I was very good at escaping uncomfortable emotions by busying myself to death, pretty much. I also realized, this is a bit embarrassing to admit, but I really wanted to be right. And I understand now how the brain works, that your brain wants to be right. So anytime I was challenged by my coach in terms of my limiting beliefs, like you have to work really hard to be successful and to make money, I would just be like, no, you're wrong, I'm right. I just didn't want to give up that belief because I didn't want to be wrong. And I was really super skeptical about the letting go of control and co-creation piece. That was really tough for me when I started learning about the quantum physics and the laws of the universe and the laws of everything of subconscious mind. I genuinely held on to that belief of like, if I don't do it, who will? Like, it's all on me, which I put myself under an immense amount of pressure, which clearly wasn't fun. But that was a huge like issue for me in terms of like, how can I let go of control and really detach from the outcome and surrender and trust. And I think actually when I look at my program, that's one of the biggest pieces of all of this, is like how I can help other people trust with absolute conviction and certainty that their desired outcome will come true for them. So yeah, it wasn't an easy road, but I'm pleased to tell you the end result. I had so much more awareness about my thoughts and feelings and the way I respond to them. So my responding behavior was to go into massive overdrive, overperforming, hustle energy. I managed to reconnect with the real me, which was really nice. And I also managed to learn how to follow my joy compass. So if something didn't feel right in my body, I managed to figure out what that was, why it was, and then what would be fun. I actually have a post-it note. It's over by my desk, and it must be about 5 years old, and it just says, what would be fun? That's it. It's just a nice little visual prompt to remind me to follow my joy compass. And I'm not kidding, when I did this, everything shifted for me. And it sounds really simple when I'm talking about it now, but it was a big deal for me back then. I felt fully aligned and I loved taking inspired action. That was another massive aha moment. I was like, oh, this is how it gets to feel like when people talk about inspired and aligned action. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, oh, this is it. It feels light and it feels easy and it feels like I could work 24/7 without feeling heavy. So I started this new coaching business with all of these new tools and it took off. And I couldn't believe how kind of effortless it felt in so many ways compared to how hard it felt in my autism business. I worked with dream clients. I tripled my income very, very quickly, simply from having these tools. So it was a pretty cool experience. I think one of the things that I was really noticed was this like unshakable self-belief and trust and confidence and self-worth. And I use those words a lot on my social media content because for me, that is the missing piece of the puzzle a lot of the time, because so many of my women feel that shaky sense of self and they feel like fear of being judged and fear of not being good enough and fear of letting go of control. And I think when you have these little ingredients, you just feel excited and ready to show up in a way that inspires other people. And you get really cool with failing fast and failing forward. So I used to attach a very different conclusion to failing. Failing wasn't okay. It just wasn't okay in my mind. And if I failed, then like, what's the point? I was clearly worthless and useless and nobody would like me and I would die alone. It sounds really dramatic, but that's where I went to in my ladder of beliefs. So like failure was just not an option, which then meant the like massive working really, really hard. And as an entrepreneur, I think we all know that, we have to fail fast and we have to fail forward and we have to fail cheap, right, as well. And learn from it and keep and pick ourselves up again and not make it mean anything about us. Like another thing that I really noticed was other people's opinions of me, they just aren't a thing anymore. And they really were before. So I used to actually, it's quite sad, but I used to get quite a lot of trolling when I was like trying to really become more visible in my autism business. And it's because of the type of intervention and the sort of approach we used. And I would take it so incredibly personally, like a stab to the heart. Like I just couldn't not take it personally. I completely over-identified with my profession. I had no idea about, separating out our human being with our human doing. I absolutely made my sense of self-worth dependent on other people's opinions of me. And now it's literally like water off a duck's back. I'm very good at being able to set and maintain boundaries, and the ripple effect, I just think, is incredible. So when I help my ladies, my clients, they then stand in their full power and authority. They get more clients and they can help them. And so it goes on. The ripple effect of all of this work is awesome. It really excites me. So yeah, after 15 years, I discovered the hard way that working really, really hard and over focusing on solutions and external strategies is not the key to success. Basically, it's managing your thoughts and feelings, which is really kind of not sexy work, right? Everybody just wants to get the next blueprint and the next action plan. That's like exciting. Managing your thoughts and feelings, not so much. But for me, my personal experience, and I can speak on behalf of all my clients, that the inner work is the key to success. So if you have been struggling to sort of scale your business, this is probably why, right? You're probably over focusing on action plans and strategies, just like I did. And the problem is when you do that and you're still stuck in old paradigms and identities that prevent you from taking action, it's because you're not aligned with this new way of showing up in the world. And my coach put it so beautifully. She's like, it's like you're putting one foot on the brake and the other foot on the accelerator. So you're trying to take all the action and all the strategies, but you're coming at it from this old way of being. And there's this mismatch. It's like pouring like petrol in a diesel car. It's not going to work. So there's a mismatch there. Like your energy is off. The way you're embodying your identity is off. You might be taking the exact same actions, but you've got to come at it from a different state of being, a different energetic state of being. So yeah, here's a question, like give me a yes in the chat box or not, but have you ever tried taking an action in your business and even though it felt icky and you felt some sort of like resistance, you just do it anyway because that's what you've been recommended to you? Have you ever felt like that? I've done that so many times, like, oh, well, they must know what they're doing because they've got the results that I want, so I'll do it their way, even though it was just cringy and icky and just didn't feel good to me. I did that all the time. I literally cringe looking back at how many times I did that. Does that resonate? Karen says, yes. Yeah. Okay, so here's what you need. The 3 secrets or the 3 stages of transformation. Okay, this is what we can do so that we can feel way more aligned. Oh, Megan, you're saying 2 years of it. Bless. Yeah, well, I had 15 years of it, so feel your pain. Okay, so this really is like the 3 very natural stages of transformation. Okay, I'm going to talk you through them. So the first one, I call it clearing and healing. So this is when we focus on unearthing all of the stuff, all of the limiting beliefs, all of your memories, experiences you've had in your life, all of the emotions that are holding you back from creating the life you want. Okay, so rather than sort of ignoring it and just like suppressing it, we actually unearth it all, bring it to the surface, acknowledge it all, and just see it for what it is. Because once you've figured out the way, like how you structure the way you think, feel, and respond, it's actually the same across all contexts in your life, your business, your marriage, you know, all the different contexts. Once you've uncovered the structure, it's the same. There's the same limiting beliefs, the same distorted thinking patterns, the same way of, you know, thinking, the same, you know, the emotions that come up when those memories come flooding to the surface when you're triggered, it's all the same. So once we can bring it all up to the surface and see how you've mapped it out, then we can put it to bed. And we know now, we've got the awareness that we're not doing that anymore. So yeah, we dig into the reasons behind your procrastination. So I'll get a lot of clients who are like, oh, you know, just crippled with imposter syndrome or procrastination, fear, confusion, numbness. So we're like, okay, that's all kind of surface level. So like, what's behind that that's holding that in place? What do you get to avoid by procrastinating? What do you get to avoid by, insert any self-sabotage tendency? But there's always a reason behind that. So that's why it's so important to unearth it all. Like, why is it that you're behaving like this? Then we can release and clear these limitations so you're ready to open up to new possibilities. And there's very specific like interventions, or I call them change patterns to help with this. But they all revolve around building a solid sense of inner safety. So when you have the self-trust, the self-worth, the self-confidence, the self-efficacy, all the selves, that sort of fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough, fear of failure, they're just no longer a thing. And you have that sense, that kind of rock solid inner safety, like in your body. And that's when you have that, it's like, the horses that have the blinkers on so they don't get like distracted by traffic and scared. It's like they come off and you're like, oh, now I can see what's available to me. Now I'm open to possibilities and opportunities. The blinkers are off. You're not kind of like in that contracted state anymore. And it's a really nice feeling to be there. Yeah, so it focuses on inner safety, and this is where you start. This is where you need to start in order to create a life-changing experience. Okay, if you don't have that, those self-sabotaging tendencies will come to bite you in the butt later on. They'll just come back. So it's like really like that. And it's not the fun part, right? Like the clearing and healing, but it's like it's like building the foundations of a house. You've got to have that in place before you build the walls and the roof of your house. So once you've done that, it kind of feels like someone's just hit the reset button on you a little bit. Then the next sort of secret or next stage to transformation is like this awakening and aligning. Okay, so you want to align this new way of being by embodying more empowering beliefs about yourself, about what's possible, about the universe, God, source, physics, whatever you want to call it, about others, as well as have this ability to receive, because, oh my goodness, we all suck at receiving. That is one of the most powerful change patterns I've ever done. And certainly my clients would probably agree with that. But also we want to have a really healthy relationship with the unknown, okay? And be able to step outside of our comfort zone from a place of like excitement and ease rather than this contracted fear of like, I don't know what's going to happen. And this is where the magic happens, when you can tolerate your sort of openness to the unknown and the trust. That's when it gets to be fun, because you're not attaching your worth to the outcome, that kind of thing. You're not clinging on to control by trying to like somehow like read other people's minds, because we can't control other people's opinions of us, and we can't control who's going to see our social media posts, and we can't control who's going to buy our offers. And so that's what puts us into that sort of self-sabotage, because we're trying to control the outcome. Karen says the magic happens outside of our comfort zone 100%, but we've got to be comfortable with the unknown. And naturally, like none of us really are. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to have everything planned, have everything organized. But when you can be okay with not knowing, that's a superpower. I want to share this feedback. This is Michelle. So Michelle was actually a therapist I worked with in my previous business. That's how we met. And she came to me in my group program because she felt absolutely trapped by her child. Her daughter has ADHD. And she was just like, I have to be here all the time because she won't go to bed on her own, and I feel trapped and I don't have a life. And she was so open to this process. And she's actually a clinical psychologist. So I was like, this is going to be so interesting to see how she responds to this. But she was so open to the program. And within the first 6 weeks, she was just having these massive shifts. And I think what came out, what really came out of the program, like more than anything, was just this incredible bond that she formed with the other ladies in the group. And the more they opened up and shared, the more they all benefited from each other sharing, and my coaching from all of them. She was so sweet. So yeah, I wanted to share that little testimonial there. Secret three, okay, the third stage of transformation. So when you can align your new way of being and give yourself permission to receive and get comfortable with the unknown and step outside of your comfort zone as well, then you're in a place to take inspired action. Okay, so this is what I was saying before, like people would talk about take aligned and inspired action. I'm like, literally don't know what you're talking about. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. It was like, give me a strategy or a plan and I'll just work my way through it like a to-do list with this like heavy hustle energy. It was so miserable when I look back, honestly. But when you've transcended, when you've gone above and beyond your old way of being from those contracted states of fear and out of control or whatever it is, and you're fully connected with your purpose now, so you fully understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, now you're ready to take action. And the beauty here is that normally it comes in the form of inspiration. You don't need to figure out the how. Like that's the thing. You'll get these like light bulb moments, these little golden nuggets, or something will pop up on your social media and you're like, that. It's like a wholehearted, full on, yes, that's what I want to do. And you might work with a business coach and you might do a course, but it's not from a place of scarcity and fear and lack, right? You see the difference there. It's not coming from a fix my problem energy. It's just like a, that sounds awesome. And that's a no-brainer for me. Like this is a yes, and there's a big difference there. And I've got a really great example of this. Very recent, Karen was a part of it. But I was on my family holiday in the summertime and came back from like Corfu, 38 degrees, flew back into England at 11 degrees, absolutely freezing, poured down my rain. And I was just like, oh, I just would love to create more travel in my life with like-minded women. It just came over me, this idea. Hadn't even got off the airplane. And I was like, huh. I wonder if there's, anyone who might be interested in a co-working abroad trip. So not a retreat, right? But just like all of us get together. It's one of my guilty pleasures, looking at beautiful villas in hot places. And I was like, I could look up a villa, I could create this. I could sort of organize everybody to come and do a bit of work and do a bit of play. And the vision I got for it was pretty much instant. And the emotion that my imagination and my thoughts together invoked was just like lit up, excited. This is happening. Like so certain. I was like, this is definitely a good idea. I just know it is. I just ran with it. And I organized within like literally a few weeks, a little co-working trip to Malaga. And it was absolutely epic. It was brilliant. And it was exactly how I envisioned it would go. And that's inspired action, right? You get this little like, it's like a light, excited energy, which is very different to the energy I was used to in my previous autism business, the heavy, hustly energy. And that's where we want to be, because that's where you'll get results, right? When you're in inspired and aligned action, because everybody can feel energy. Karen says it was fabulous. Part of my New York norm. Yeah, we're doing it again. Definitely doing it again. So yeah, you get this is when people talk about this sense of ease and flow and being in this flow state. Again, coming from my behavior analytic background, I was like, what are you talking about? What's a flow state? But it's this, when you're inspired and you feel passionate about it, it just flows, like things just come and it happens very quickly, right? So that's the quantum leap part, right? So you can get big results very, very quickly, rather than having to force yourself through sheer willpower, which is absolutely what I used to do in my previous business. So it's like, rather focusing on the doing, focus in on the being. So when you like actually invest the time more in like being with your big vision, your big dream goal, and you're just sitting still and you're sitting quietly and you've just got your eyes closed and you're just visualizing being in your big dream goal right now, not looking at it as if it's like a dot on the horizon, but like bringing it in right now. And then when you stand up from that place, you feel that gratitude, creativity, passion, joy, whatever it is, then you can look at your to-do list. So I always say to my clients, it's energy first, then action. Even if it's a hitting post on a social media post or an email, anything you do, intention can be felt, energy can be felt. So it's like, get that energy, get it right, right? Invest some time in your energy first before you take any action, and just notice the difference on your results. Yeah, so that's what I mean. When you're kind of open to seeing and seizing opportunities, like doors start opening, or people will just start appearing in your audience, or a client will come out of nowhere. Like it's like this sort of like the magic happens, and you're like, where did that just come from? And you're able to lean into your essence, right? So my mentor, she talks about your essence a lot, that kind of truest part of you, your kind of I am. So beyond all of your your layers of past and limiting beliefs, like when you get to that kind of core you, when you go back to that, it's like going home, right? When you go back to that home and that place of consciousness, everything becomes easier. Like you're just able to access that, and then you're able to step out of your comfort zone. You show up because you are like so passionate about what you do, what your offer is, that you want to shout out about it from the rooftops. And the surrender and receive is a huge piece of this. So we need to let go of control, or need to control everything, let go of control. We show up, and it's a 50-50 creation, right? So we let those invisible forces do their bit, we do our bit, and we're then just open to receiving. I love this. I've been playing with this little thought recently. I'm open and available to receiving from all the places, from all the ways. I'm open and available to receiving from all the places and all the ways. So I'm a huge fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I love this quote. He says, to change is to think greater than how we feel. That's the toughest part, right? Where so many of us, none of us are taught really how to think and feel. And so we stay suffering in our feelings. But to change is to think greater than how we feel. And to change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. So that's what I was saying at the beginning, when I just wanted to be right. Like it was like being pulled back into an old version of myself. It was like one step forward, two step back, because that's what my brain wanted to do. It was familiar, it was predictable. That was the pattern I'd lived my whole life in. So yeah, and it takes courage and it takes energy, right? Okay, so ladies, the obvious question. Option one, you stay where you are. That's absolutely fine if you want to stay where you are. Option two, you can come with me and take a quantum leap into a new way of being. So I am personally inviting you to join me in my program, my signature program, Success Becomes Her. This is a program that's been meticulously engineered to really clear and heal all of the most common limiting beliefs and distorted thinking patterns that I see show up in women of all levels of business. It fascinates me that, even if you're making a lot of money, I've worked with a couple of seven-figure entrepreneurs, and I've worked with upstarts, and I'm not kidding, like self-doubt still shows up. It's that whole new levels, new devils. So this is a program that I run as a one-to-one and also in a group, and I run it as a group just twice a year. So I'm kicking it off very, very soon. But in a nutshell, it really shifts your mindset from past focus to future focus. Okay. So we're going to be working on embodying new beliefs, processing your feelings healthily in a way that actually regulates your feelings. And we really tap into this like massively unused resource that we have, which is your imagination, to create exactly what you want. And if you haven't watched, what was it? Day 3 of the training last week, I think. You should watch it, because I talk about like before I even got into any of this work, like manifesting my dream wedding simply by going to bed every night and just basking in this dream of what the day would look like. And the day was utterly amazing. Okay, so when we work together, we're going to manage your emotional state. We're going to embody your next level identity, and we create all that. It's really fun because you get to be like an architect of yourself. And we get laser focused on only making the moves that align with your new way of being, so that you can make more money and more impact in your business in a way that feels fun and kind of effortless, like, and really easy, because you do genuinely become magnetic. So it's a 12-week program. By the end of the 12 weeks, you will feel 100% more confident, empowered, resilient. So that ability to bounce back up when when you have failed launches or when you make mistakes or whatever it is. Optimism is a massive key ingredient here as well, which means you will attract your dream clients. And like we've already said, stepping outside your comfort zone with ease and excitement, which means you'll be able to really show up and increase your visibility, whether that's, guest speaking on podcasts or being more visible online or doing more reels or TikToks or whatever it is. Or going to networking events. I worked with a woman recently who would literally feel so much fear the second she was about to walk into a networking event that her whole face just went beetroot. And also to charge rates that feel exciting. So this took me a long, long time to get my head around, and my body, more importantly, to charge premium prices that felt really exciting. And it's so interesting that when I put my prices up last year, the clients who were on the higher rate got by far more better results than the ones who were on the lower rate, because they showed up 100%. They were there to get value for money. And it's the same for me. When I paid my mindset coach, I was like, I'm in for it all. So yeah, we all undercharge, I believe. And so it's about like, not overcharging, but just charging, the value of your offer, which is usually way more than you're actually charging at the minute. And you're able to face and manage any challenge that comes your way, which naturally it will when you're working as an entrepreneur. But we want to turn those challenges into strategies. So they come up, we're like, here's an obstacle. Okay, so, it's just a situation right here, right now, without making all these crazy meanings and attaching it to them. But like, okay, so how do we want to fix this? And actually like having the ability to regulate your feelings, regulate your thoughts to show up in just the way you want to. You'll definitely be more present. Oh my goodness, that was a big game changer for me when I was like bathing my baby, like writing emails in my head. I was not a present parent. So you'll definitely be more present rather than constantly like, going to bed and thinking of your to-do list and thinking of social media posts and how you're going to scale your business. You'll just put that stuff down. That focus on the solutions, that'll all be put down. This is an interesting one. A lot of ladies ask me, I just want to feel more confident and clarity, right? Everyone wants more confidence and clarity. And when you can go through this program, you do become clearer. Like when you reconnect with yourself and your true purpose and what you want, and you give yourself permission to dream big, the clarity comes quite quickly, and the focus. So you can stop doing all the things, like spinning all the plates, and feeling that like massive sense of overwhelm. You get much more clarity. And ladies, confusion kills conversion. Take it from me. I've spent years in confusion. So I'm going to take you through the framework, which I've talked about tonight, the 3 stages of transformation, the programs in 3 phases, the clearing and healing, awakening and aligning, and inspired action. And I've already talked to you about this, but just as a little recap, we get to the root cause of why you feel stuck and taking ownership of your patterns. That's a big one. If you get into like victim mode or people-pleasing tendencies, we really want to have a feeling of ownership over our thoughts, feelings, actions, and words. And like I've already said, building that solid sense of safety so you can really have those blinkers taken off and open your eyes to infinite possibilities. And then we've got the awakening and aligning piece. That's the really fun part. So you start really sort of managing to maintain this beautiful elevated state that attracts more of the results you want, but without suppressing or to bring emotions that will naturally come up, because it's not about rainbows and unicorns all day, every day, right? Like it's not realistic, but it's about not suffering and uncomfortable emotions. So we also work on that surrender piece there, surrendering more and more to trust, letting go of control so that you don't have to sort of like control the outcome or operate from that kind of hustle masculine energy. It's not fun. And then we've got the nice bit at the end. So that's the like list, being open to those little nudges and messages and serendipities so you can really connect with your intuition. And that's when you get to take the inspired action. So yes, I've run this group 5 times now, I think. And I always ask for feedback halfway through the program because it's always the first half that is the really tricky bit, right? And this was lovely, Sarah. She was like saying it's just been brilliant and worth every penny. And then Lynn was like, I second that. So Lynn's actually a coach as well. She's fantastic. But yeah, it's like you get to the end of that first stage halfway through the program, and it honestly feels like someone's hit the reset button. You're like, whoa, this is awesome. Right, let's go. You're really kind of lit up at that point. So this is not a self-study program. It's not a DIY program. This is all very high touch, intimate, like a high level of support. It's all life coaching. So I coach you through 10 powerful interventions, like within those 3 phases that I've just talked about. And they really sort of go above and beyond just mindset because they address the entire mind, body, emotion, soul system. A lot of my ladies are very cognitively aware, but they have this massive disconnect between what they think and what they feel. So I'm really passionate about bridging that gap. So you get the 10 group coaching calls, the live group coaching calls, where I'll be guiding you through these specific little interventions within each phase of the program. The first call is a one-to-one call. It's a big one, where I take you through a very systematic process in terms of kind of uncovering the structure of, the limiting beliefs, your escape behaviors, your escape states, all the memories that come up. And then it's really lovely at the end because I can really reconnect you with the essence piece that I was talking about earlier. You get lifetime access to everything. So all of the change patterns that I will do in the live coaching calls, I've got recorded as little audios, and they're all organized beautifully in an online learning hub. So that's your homework, is listening to these audios and then practicing solidifying it in your daily life. There's a few little written tasks, not a lot. There's a couple of resources, workbooks, just to help solidify everything. And I normally set up a little private Facebook group, just so we've got a little base of somewhere where we can keep in touch, ask questions, share concerns, share worries, share wins, all of those things. And I always get guest speakers in the course, and I've got 2 fantastic guest speakers in for this cohort. So I've got Anna Payne, who is a local sales strategist. In fact, I've just spent all day with Anna. She had a really good live event today in Edinburgh, and she is so lovely, but she's also an absolute expert when it comes to selling without feeling icky. So she's massive on integrity, permission-led selling, and will hold on to the belief that selling is serving 100%. She's just lovely. And then Alessandra is my breathwork coach, and she's just a beautiful human being who is just comes with such incredible energy. And if you've never done breathwork before, you're in for a treat because it's been a bit of a game changer for me over the last 6 months. So much so I've just persuaded my husband to get into it, and now he's totally addicted to it as well. He's doing breathwork every day. So what I need from you, if you're considering joining this program, is I need commitment to turn up and do the work. Like I said, this is not a kind of DIY self-study program. This is all live coaching. There's certainly no magic wand here, and it can get messy at times. But it's all for the greater good, right? You will feel like a total rock star by the end of the 12 weeks, and I'm there supporting you every step of the way. So the investment fee is £2,000 for the full 12 weeks. It will be going up for the January cohort to 2.5, maybe even 3, because I think I might make it longer. But for the moment, it's staying at £2,000. And yeah, just to remind you why you're here. It's time to move beyond the superficial, right? And connect with your infinite potential. That sounds really cheesy, but it's true. Everybody I work with has this like inner yearning to really figure out what are they capable of, what's their capacity. And you're here to share your gifts with the world, right? Well, like I said, we all have our secret sauce, and your people are out there right now waiting for you to make yourself visible and known. And you might have, a really established online business, but like, let's take it to the next level, right? Like, let's go one step further. It's definitely time to let go of the societal norms and limiting beliefs that have shaped your narrative and start writing new ones that serve you. right? This is a massive piece of the work. It's like, okay, we're going to let go of that story. I'm going to show gratitude for my past self. She's got me to where I am today. I'm so grateful, but it's not helping me reach my future goals. So we're going to be writing a whole new narrative that you can really start embodying. And that's the key. This is not a cognitive exercise. And I found that personally when I went through this program, very difficult. I was in my head intellectualizing everything. But this is not a cognitive exercise. We really work on embodying everything that we want to get our heads to think. I've got loads of amazing testimonials for you to have a look at. I'm not going to read through them all, but I just work with the most incredible women. I feel very lucky to have worked with the ladies that I have from a whole, range of backgrounds as well. So there's a few different payment plans as well, ladies. There's there's a full pay in full £2,000, but there is a 3-month payment plan and a 6-month payment plan. And I think actually my VA is setting up a 12-month payment plan because somebody had asked about that already. I just want to get this into the hands of as many women who needs it as possible. That being said, I do keep the group a maximum of 10. Normally get about 6 or 7 women in it, and that's perfect because it keeps it really intimate and small. Doors close next Monday, so you've got a week to think about it if you did want to think about it. But of course, I do have a nice fast action bonus. So if you did want to sign up and you do in the next 48 hours, you get another one-to-one call with me whenever you want. So you can use that whenever you want within the 12 weeks. So yeah, so that's it. How am I doing for time? I don't have a watch on. Did I manage to stick to 8 o'clock? Or to an hour? Was it 9 o'clock? Gosh, it's been a long day. Does anybody have any questions? And feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat box, whatever is easiest for you. I hope you found it helpful. Karen, what did you think?
I thought that was fantastic.
Oh,
It just really resonated with me, the whole thing. Obviously, you know me, there's some similar stuff that I do, so it really resonated with me anyway. But it's always such an insightful thing to come and be part of stuff like this because it prompts my own thinking about my comfort zone and about where I might be holding myself back and shifts and changes that I need to make for myself. So I just found that really helpful,
nice.
reflective time for me, and I suppose following on from some of the conversations I had when we were on that co-working holiday, holiday retreat. I don't know what co-working space that we were in, Um, yeah, and it just reminds me that this is a daily practice. It's a daily practice. The mindset and embodiment work is a daily practice.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's like going to the gym, isn't it? I always use that analogy because like everyone can resonate. You can't expect to lift heavy weights going to the gym once. It's just you've got to get in there and it is a habit. But so worth it, right? Like I know you've been doing this for a long time. So yeah, really worth it. I think I've got the link here. I'm going to pop the link in the chat box so you can have a look in closer detail at the full program. But if anybody wants to like have a chat about it, then like I'm happy to jump on Zoom or a call or in the DMs on Facebook, like however, and we can have a chat about it and see if this is the right thing for you. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for being here with me, ladies. I appreciate your time, and I'm so glad that you found it helpful. And it's time for a cup of tea, right? Let's go and get a cup of tea. Okay. Have a good evening, everybody, and hopefully see you soon. Bye.